Okay, so grocery prices, of course, are a major area of focus. Donald Trump and JD Vance running on we will lower grocery prices, we will lower them quickly, we will lower them significantly along with energy prices and prices for everything else. And of course, we will achieve all of it by putting tariffs on everybody. None of it ever made sense. JD Vance was interviewed by Margaret Brennan over the weekend, and JD Vance snaps when she points out that nothing that Trump has signed so far in terms of executive orders is doing a damn thing to bring prices down. A friend of mine, sort of jokingly, but also not really, a friend of mine loves those Vital Farms pasture-raised eggs. Hell of an egg, beautiful, rich orange yolks with... Sorry, I'm getting out of my... Okay. A friend sent me a picture that those Vital Farms eggs, which used to be $7.79 at his grocery store, are now up to $9.59. Now, the reason it's sort of tongue-in-cheek is that some of this has to do with bird flu, which, by the way, Trump is not taking seriously. Some of this has to do with seasonality. But the point is, it seems as though egg prices continue to increase under Donald Trump. They're certainly not decreasing. And in his defense, it's only been a week. I had no expectation that Trump would lower prices of eggs within a week. In fact, I don't think he's going to lower them at all. Here is Margaret Brennan interviewing JD Vance. Here's what he had to say.
You campaigned on lowering prices for consumers. We've seen all of these executive orders. Which one lowers prices?
We have done a lot, and there have been a number of executive orders that have caused already jobs to start coming back into our country, which is a core part of lowering prices. More capital investment, more job creation in our economy is one of the things that's going to drive down prices for all consumers, but also raise wages so that people can afford to buy the things that they need. If you look at our slate of executive orders, no, Margaret, prices are going to come down, but it's going to take a little bit of time, right? The president has been president for all of 5 days. I think that in those 5 days, he's accomplished more than Joe Biden did in 4 years. It's been an incredible breakneck pace of activity. We're going to work with Congress. We're, of course, going to have more executive orders, and we're going to try the way that you lower prices is that you encourage more capital investment into our country.
All right. So, of course, it is not true that Trump has accomplished more in his first 5 days than Joe Biden accomplished in 4 years. I don't even want to address that. You really can't lower grocery prices by executive order. In fact, it's difficult for government to lower grocery prices at all, but I'm going to tell you some of the things that can be done. The government can influence certain factors, but it simply does not control the entire supply chain. Farmers grow the food. Distributors transport it. Retailers set the final price based on costs and profit margins. Global markets, of course, influence the cost of commodities, the price rather, of commodities, wheat, corn, soybeans, and other things. So you might be able to use some executive order to provide a temporary subsidy, maybe a temporary price freeze. But these are band-aid solutions, which often can have unintended consequences. They can distort markets. It's these MAGAs who say, you don't want to distort a free market. You can cause shortages. Executive orders cannot directly lower prices because it is market forces that largely determine those prices. I talked about the transport from the farmers to the grocery stores. Well, that's transportation. That's gas prices. It's labor costs for the drivers and so many other things. There's really no magic wand that a president can wave and say cheaper avocados. If only it were that simple. Now, if you want to take a serious look at how to lower grocery prices, or maybe more likely is slow down the rate at which prices are growing, you've got to address supply chain issues. You've got to deal with supporting domestic production to reduce reliance on imports. You need to do something about corporate price gouging. You've got to enforce antitrust laws because we have so much monopolistic behavior when it comes to food. You need to investigate price hikes to see how much of it is really based on production cost increases versus how much of it is just price gouging. You would want to do some targeted subsidies for staple foods, While understanding that subsidies big picture are not going to be the solution, you need to explore what's going on with fuel prices, and part of that is saying, hey, you know what? Rather than being subjected to global oil markets, we should do domestic green renewable energy. That's how we will sustainably reduce energy prices. Probably doing some expansion of SNAP, also known as food stamps, to make sure certain folks can continue to afford groceries. That won't lower prices, but it will ease the burden on certain consumers most affected by the high prices. And this is the sort of thing that we're talking about. You do have to deal with climate change and acknowledge that that's a factor here. You need to push for sustainable farming practices. Subsidize the farming practices we want, rather than saying, I'm going to put a short-term Band-Aid on eggs or whatever the case may be. And then we've also got to deal with food waste. We've spoken about this on the bonus show many times. 25, 30, up to 40%, depending on how you calculate it. 25 to 40% of food in the US is wasted. Now that includes stuff that's like left in the fields as well, because it's already not, sometimes stuff that looks okay today is left in the field because by the time it gets to where it will be sold, it'll be overripe, and then the grocery store ends up throwing it out anyway. So a lot of that stuff is left in the field. So all of these things have to be looked at. From the get-go, it was never believable that they were going to be able to do this thing they said they were going to do. And JD Vance is increasingly contending with that. I do not expect grocery prices. He had 5 days as of that interview. I don't expect, or 6 days. I don't expect grocery prices to be lower in a month. Now, can Trump do something to eventually put some downward pressure? He can. It doesn't seem like that's actually what he's interested in doing.
Did you know that countless commercial databases and people search sites are storing your personal information? Anyone, from an employer to a former partner, can use these platforms to get details about your online presence, your home address, phone number, email, license plate, family members, financial information, even political views. Europe has laws that offer some protection, but in the US, the data is widely accessible. Even the FBI will buy this information from companies to spy on people without a search warrant. Our sponsor, Incogni, provides a solution. It takes just seconds to sign up, and Incogni will send removal requests to all of the major data brokers, legally compelling them to get rid of your data. Incogni keeps you informed throughout the process. You'll get real-time updates, who has complied, which ones are still pending. They'll handle follow-ups, they'll handle appeals on your behalf, and this will save you hundreds of hours. Very few people have the time or resources to do this on their own. This service can also reduce the number of spam calls and emails you get, since many solicitors and scammers get your information from these very same sources. Go to incogni.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for 60% off. The link is below.